Hey there! Amanda from the Happy Homestead. I am out at our farm today because it's officially fall now and the black walnuts are falling from the trees. So we have a lot of black walnut trees on our property. Just so happened that they're there. We didn't plant them. I do believe the family that owned the property before us did. Granted, probably 30 or 40, if not 50 years ago, because we actually heard a story about the older gentleman had planted them back when he was young. So I do think that they were purposely planted, but a long time ago, and so grateful we get to benefit from that. So I'm going to show you what a black walnut tree looks like, what a black walnut looks like when you see them on the ground, and how to harvest them. All right, so let's start right here. These are, I think this is like a cluster of like 6 or 7 trees right here. You can see it's easier to see when you look at the trunk, but there's 3 right there, right, and then 2 here. That is one back there, and then this is one also. And so when you're looking for a black walnut tree, it's usually the leaves that help give it away. They're a little bit skinnier of a leaf. And there's a bunch of them kind of lined up opposite each other along the stem. I'll try and find the stem if I can closer to the ground. The other thing you'll look for is you'll actually see some of the black walnuts in the tree. There was some I found up there. Do you kind of see? Right up there where my finger's kind of pointing. There's some big balls up there and up at the top of the other one. So the black walnuts are these big green balls that are in the tree, and they fall. And so when they fall to the ground, that's when you harvest them. And so we're going to be walking around the property today, and that's just one cluster. There's a few others that I'm going to go to and see if we can find some on the ground. So let's go. So this is a black walnut tree, all by its lonesome here, that produced pretty well last year, and I think it's doing the same so far this year. So let me show you if you can see any. Oh yeah, there's some right there. If you can see those up in the tree. There's even some up way up there. It would be hard to see on the camera. But looking on the ground, now granted we just kind of tilled this up a bit so it's easier to see, but look, there are some right there. So yeah, I gotta go get my wagon now. But yeah, so what you do is look for them on the ground. They almost look like a lime. So here's my wagon of what I've been collecting so far. But let's go get those ones. And so sometimes you'll see them on the ground like this. That's where the green hull is removed. And that's essentially what the inside looks like before you crack it open to get to the nut meat. But I'm not going to pick that one because you really want to pick black walnuts that have the hull intact. Right, so it's okay that there's some brown spots. That actually means the hull will come off a little bit easier. But yeah, you want to get the nuts intact. You'll even start to see some with the hull kind of broken. That's okay and soft. That's actually a good thing. So that's a black walnut tree. if you can look at that group of trees, if you can kind of see, this one is the black walnut. You see how the leaves are just a little bit different. Oh, and here's a baby black walnut actually growing. Let's go see that one. Oh, and I can reach the leaves to show you. So there are no fruits on this one yet. I mean, this is a baby. It's still probably 30 feet high, but you can see the leaves a little bit better. Okay, so I got all the ones around that trunk. I'm gonna go over to another big one and over to that original cluster that I showed you. So they start falling in September. You might start seeing some in August. I wouldn't recommend harvesting those ones because I don't think they're fully ready yet. But they really start falling, where I am at least, in North Carolina Zone 7B in September. All right, so now we're gonna go over to this one. This is another big boy right here. That's the top of it right there. And there's the trunk. Here, at this big one, you can see this one's had some damage or some dead spots in it. And, I don't know if you can see that, but it's covered in poison ivy. So this tree may not last too much longer on our property for a variety of reasons, but I actually don't see any on the ground too. So this one has not produced in the last couple of years really any. Oh, there's one. Look at that, there's one. We're gonna go to this one. This one is pretty big. Here is the trunk. And it goes all the way up and spreads out there. So if we're gonna find any, they're gonna be right around here. Yes, there are. Can you see all these? This has always been a good, reliable tree too, so. Actually, I want to show you this one because this one, you can see maybe there are bugs in the hull here and little white worms. And while that's disgusting, it's okay because they're not actually penetrating into the nut. All right, I think I've got as many as I can around this tree. There are more trees down in our woods. I'm just not venturing down in there right now. Time, snakes, ticks, not really ready for that today. So this is what we've got. Not bad. So I'm just gonna go up near that original cluster I showed you, see if there's anything there. Those trees don't obviously regularly produce because they're a little bit smaller. And then I'll show you how we get these hulls off. Now we need to get the hulls off. There are a variety of ways you can do this. You can look online and search what people do. The easiest way I have found is to run over them with the car. Now you don't want to run over a black walnut with a hull that is perfectly intact. You can try, it just might be a little bit more work, especially if it's really hard. I try to only choose the ones, so I'll do this every few days, but I'll try to only choose the ones that have some black spots on them, or dark brown spots, and they're a little bit softer. Because that means when you run over them, the hull will easily come off, and then the nut will be exposed. So that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna line them up in front of the wheel of my car and just run over them, and I'll show you how that looks. Okay, hopefully you can see that well, but look how a lot of the holes cracked right on open. I did them on both tires there. So this next part, you're gonna wanna wear gloves. Up until this point, you didn't necessarily have to wear gloves, but black walnuts will stain your hands. In fact, the dye that comes out is often used for dyeing in commercial applications. So make sure you wear gloves at some point. But now we're gonna put my gloves on, and now I'm gonna pull and peel the holes away. I have a little bucket here that I use to get the inside. Oh, let's see all those little worms? Yeah, they are eating on the hole. So just kind of take them off. And you are left with this hard, like, nut pod. And that is what you are going to then proceed to the next step with. But we need to get all these holes off first. And at some point, you might find that some holes obviously come off a lot easier than others. That's why when you're doing this, you want to try to start with the ones that are a little bit softer in the beginning. Let them get that brown spot, because that brown spot really helps peel it away. You can see. And so they're going to look a lot different once we get them home and clean them up. Your biggest competition with black walnuts is going to be squirrels. So if you have some that you are, processing and then letting dry out, put them somewhere the squirrels will not get to them, because they will steal your hard work. You can see how my gloves are turning like this orangey green. Well, it turns black eventually too. Oh, this one did not even break at all, and it's really hard. So that one's gonna go back in the wagon. Same with this one. Now, I didn't put all of my walnuts out here to run over, because some of them really are still too hard. So I will do it again in a couple of days, but I'm just gonna let them sit in the wagon. And then they'll start getting that brown spot, and the holes will start softening. I think that is all of them. So all of this debris here, I'm just gonna leave, because we're just on our own farm here, but this will start breaking down. So that's what we're gonna take home. This is what I'm leaving in the bucket. They are not ready for the holes to come off yet. So that's just the first step, right? Gathering them, making sure that they have a hull that's soft enough to run over and peel. And notice that, I want to show you this. You saw me wear gloves. The tip of my thumb is already stained, so I'll have to wash my hands very fast when I get home. I also wanted to show you some other walnuts I had originally gathered when they first started falling, I think in August. But I just left them on the ground and didn't do anything with them because I knew that they weren't going to be good. But I want to show you what they look like now. So these are black walnuts that are very much past their prime and old. And you can see a squirrel has even gotten to that one, where he has opened it up and gotten to the nut meat. So I don't ever pick walnuts that are black like this. It just means they're past their prime and there's not really anything more you can do with them. So leave those for the wildlife. Okay, so I'm done here. I'm going to take these nuts home and show you what we do next. See you soon. We've got the black walnuts here in the kitchen, and so now what I'm going to do is soak them. The water is going to get very dark and black. And you're basically going to want to be doing this probably all day and changing the water very often. You can see how dark it is already. And so the whole idea is to get as much of the nastiness off as possible. But I will soak these and let them sit for an hour and then drain and then re-soak for an hour. And I'm gonna do that 3 or 4 times. And you basically wanna do it until as much as possible the water is clear. It won't be crystal clear, but it will get a lot clearer. All right, so I'm gonna let that soak. So these walnuts have been soaking for probably close to 4 hours now. Now I have changed this water multiple times, probably close to 10 times within that 4-hour period. And you can see that it is certainly not crystal clear, but much clearer than it was when we began. So the nuts have gotten most of the whole remnants off. Like there's still some, like you can kind of see. This is the actual nut, right? And all of this stuff is still part of the hull that's on it. And you can take some time to try to like, see there's a piece, like take it all off. It won't stain your fingers as much now that we've gotten a lot of the dye out from the soaking. But honestly, I think these are still probably okay. I don't try to spend a whole lot of time cleaning them up perfectly. They will dry and things will kind of fluff off over time. So I think these are ready for the next step. Actually, here's a pretty big piece of hull. See that? Get what I can. But yeah, I think these are ready for the next step. So I am gonna rinse these and take them outside. So all I'm going to do is leave these out here. I'm actually going to set them out though. The goal is to have them fully dry out. It'll take a day or two. Now if you're in a place where it's going to rain, you know, in the next day or two, then you're going to want to keep them inside and dry them out. But I usually do it outside and then I bring them in if I need to. Now you could put them in the dehydrator. I've never done that, but you could try that too. The goal is to get these really dried out and then you bring them inside. Just keep in mind that wherever you put them, you don't want squirrels to get them. Our nuts are outside drying. There's a couple of things I want to note from what you have seen previously. Number one, if you're gonna run over the walnuts, don't do it in your driveway. Just don't. It's gonna stain. It will stain. Go do it in some kind of public parking lot or a dirt road, but somewhere where it won't stain and you care about it, right? The other thing is that be very careful with the nuts as well as the hulls, because they can be toxic to some animals like dogs and cats, right? So you just wanna make sure your dogs aren't eating the hulls that you're leaving around. And also, be careful if you decide to go plant a black walnut. The roots contain a chemical compound that actually kind of kill everything around it. I shouldn't say kill everything, but certain like vegetables and fruit plants around it. So you can't really have a vegetable garden that's like right next to a black walnut tree or other things that you might be trying to grow, especially edibles. So just kind of keep that in mind, right? So we have our black walnut trees out on the farm. We didn't put them there, they're just there. Clearly they're doing well. We harvest what we can. After they are dried, you're gonna bring them inside and they're gonna look like this. So I have a bowl of some that I did last week. And so black walnut season doesn't happen, you know, just one day and it's done, right? They're falling over weeks on end. Probably about 4 to 6 weeks is when you'll start seeing them on the ground and then they'll stop. And so you're doing this process repetitively every week or every day that you're harvesting. And so yeah, they will look like this. This is the black walnut and it's in here. And so what we're doing now is letting this just cure or dry. You want to let them sit from anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks before you crack them open. And you want to let them sit inside in your house, a temperature controlled, humidity controlled, weather controlled environment. Again, I don't know if I'd put them out in a barn or somewhere because a squirrel might get them and get all your hard work. So just bring them inside. We keep them on our kitchen counter in this bowl, and I'll keep adding to it and probably need a bigger bowl after that batch is dry. And then in 4 to 6 weeks, I'll crack them open. So I'll show you a video of that. But I wanted to get this part out first so that you can start collecting and harvesting them and cleaning them up. There's also some things online, people online that say when you're soaking them, like that I did in the sink, if any come float to the top, just discard them, they're not good. I did that last year. I had some that would float with every batch and I would just throw them away. I didn't do that this year. I had some floating last week and I think I had 1 or 2 floating today, and I didn't do that. And the reason is because I just want to see, right? So when I crack them open, I'll be able to see if they're good or bad, and I'll show you that when we do it. So go find yourself some black walnut trees, start your harvest, start hulling them, getting them rinsed off and dried, and then we'll come to step 2 in a few weeks. Thanks so much. Stay healthy, stay well. See you next time.